Welcome in everyone to the Larsonland podcast. I'm your host Sawyer Hill, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Dylan Bradshaw. We come on here every single week and talk about all things involving the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Young Money Kyle Larson. On today's show, we'll be talking about the High Limit Sprint Car Series opener at the East Bay Raceway Park from last week. It's been a while now. The NASCAR Cup Series official opener at the Daytona 500. Some upcoming events for Kyle Larson, and then, of course, wrapping up the show with our news segment, the random Kyle Larson race of the week. So, Dylan, let's dive right into East Bay. Night one was scheduled to take place last Monday night, actually. So we're over a week past that original start date of East Bay. But of course, that event was rain plagued and postponed to the following day, where we had a two race show, a double show on that Tuesday night. We actually did our first YouTube live stream during the rain delay on Monday night. That was pretty cool to talk up with some of you guys. We hope to do that again sometime soon.
Yeah, the live stream was cool. It definitely had a lot more interaction than I thought it would. So shout out to everyone that was, staying in because our original plan was, kind of commentate the race a little bit as it happened. 15 minutes after we started up, it was postponed. So actually lasted a while. I mean, it was what, over an hour
Yeah.
long live stream. So went pretty well. Yeah, I hope to do that again. But East Bay opener, it was a good night for Larson. Started on the pole in first. He led flag to flag. Early on, we saw some immediate speed from Peck there. I mean, it looked like Peck was going to be a serious problem for Larson. He started sixth, and I think it was on the third turn he made his way up to second, and he was kind of already in the mix. But Peck, unfortunately, I mean, he I think it was around 16 to go, 15 to go. He collided with Wyndham and bent up the front end. Tire was just completely mauled. So from there on out, it looked like Thorson. He was going to be the only one that might have a chance. He had some good speed throughout the race, but he caught up with Larson with less than 10 to go. They had some good battles back and forth there, and Macedo got in the mix a little bit, but Larson was able to hold him off. He had a decent lead through the lap traffic there at the end, and he was able to get a win at the East Bay opener with high limit.
Yeah, obviously a really good win for Kyle, and as you talked about, the lap traffic was intense. There was a lot of lap traffic in that one. Kyle did a great job negotiating the lap cars and taking it home for the win on the first race of the night. But on the second race of the night, Dylan, it was a completely different story for Kyle Larson. Obviously, some really interesting rules coming into play with high limit, kind of the first time getting to see the two-night show rules right away with the first couple nights of the season, where the top four finishers from the first night's race do not have to qualify for the second night's racing event. So Kyle Larson and positions 2 through 4 in the feature from night one didn't have to qualify. So Kyle skipped out on qualifying, and those guys start fourth in their respective heat races. And basically, as long as they finish inside the top 5 of their heat race, they are locked into the dash. So Kyle was locked into the dash, looked like the night was going to be off to a good start, drew the 5, finished 5th in the dash. And in the feature, Dylan, it was a tough go on the opening lap. Tyler Courtney and some others collided on the front row, and it kind of fell all the way back to Larson's row in row 3 and made some contact with Brent Marks, had a tire go down, and from there it just got worse.
Yeah, it was pretty much just a domino effect of things happening, just starting with that, opening lap just immediately. But, other than that, I mean, I think the race was really good. I mean, we saw some really good battles throughout that race. Courtney, Brad Sweet, Wise, Corey Day, they all had some great speed. Halfway through the race or so, we saw Day. I mean, he was just a rocket ship. I mean, he took the lead away from Courtney there around the halfway point. Larson was spun around again there as Day took the lead immediately. But I mean, he was involved with multiple collisions. Just wasn't a good day for Larson. But there at the end, we saw some great battles again. Corey Day looked like he was on a mission to pick up that win in the East Bay finale. But Courtney held him off. He was able to pick up the win. But all in all, racing wise, I really did enjoy the race. I mean, there was some great battles, like I said. So unfortunately, Larson couldn't pick up the win there and get the sweep. But getting 1 out of 2, you can walk away happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it's in the same night. You can't. It's obviously you don't have the time to celebrate it. You got to go right back out and race again. But at least 1 for 2 was pretty cool. And another kind of cool, interesting fact that the last time Tyler Courtney and Kyle Larson raced together on the same day, 2 races, was when they both won their King's Royal a couple years back. So Kyle won his King's Royal and Tyler Courtney won his in the same day. So both of them going to victory lane for the High Limit opener. I'm really excited for High Limit and what this year has in store. I mean, these first 2 races were awesome. All the different drivers that are out there. I think that the points battle is going to be awesome. A lot of good drivers that I think people aren't going to expect to be competing for the championship. I mean, right now you look at the points just through 2 races. Brad Sweet and Corey Day tied at the top of the standings. Corey Day is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the High Limit Series, and looking forward to Golden Isle this coming week. We'll talk about that in a little bit. As far as East Bay went, what was your opening thoughts on High Limit for the first show of the year? I mean, I thought my biggest takeaway was obviously the drivers, but I thought Chase Rodman did an awesome job in the booth as well. His first couple races up there for the High Limit Series.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it so far. I talked a little bit about it last year or last week, sorry, about the cool little things that High Limit has that we haven't seen in the other series. Like the thing you just mentioned, where the top 4 guys don't have to qualify again, and then like the whole redraw thing. I mean, they just have so many cool little things in store, and I'm not sure if we've seen everything yet or not. I mean, I don't know if they have anything else in store that we're not used to seeing, but I'm really excited for it. Gonna be at Golden Hours this weekend to be at my first high limit race with you on Saturday. So really looking forward to that. We'll get into that, like you said, a little bit later in the show. But yeah, I'm really happy with it so far. Robin did a great job, and yeah, excited with what the future holds for the series.
Absolutely. So looking or moving ahead to Daytona, that was the next night. Tuesday night, High Limit at East Bay wrapped up, and then Kyle had to go and qualify the Cup car on Wednesday at Daytona. Unfortunate that a long streak was ended for Hendrick Motorsports. The first time in 10 years that a Hendrick engine was not on the pole for the 500. I thought that was a crazy stat. I mean, they had been on the front row, just a Hendrick Motorsports car, for what was it, like 6 years in a row or something like that, Dylan. But 9 years in a row that it was a Hendrick engine on the pole. So that's pretty crazy that a Ford and an engine outside of the Hendrick shop was on the pole with Joey Logano. But the duels on Thursday, Larson showed some good speed there and looked to be one of the best cars before being shuffled back there at the end after some contact with Alex Bowman.
Yeah, that was definitely unfortunate. I mean, he was set to have a good position there, and obviously got him with Bowman. He kind of got flew back on the outside there. Glad he was able to save it and not hit the wall. We saw some contact with the duels. I mean, there was multiple cars that were out. Blaney, he took a really hard hit in the duels. So
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised to see a big wreck like that, because I mean they usually race pretty conservative for the most part in the duels. I mean last year I know Larson was one guy last year duels that was just treating it like it was the 500. I mean he was already locked in last year and he was firing that
Oh
thing
yeah.
in, but yeah, I mean, it sucks that he didn't get that, up for qualifying position. But at the end of the day, it's Daytona. It's not like it's some short track where you need good field position to make your way up. And we obviously saw that. I mean, he had a fast car on Sunday, so really wasn't too big of a deal.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny. Like I was talking to some people about Daytona, and it. I think that the qualifying and then the duels right after is more about just the the pomp and circumstance of the event, the hype, generating the hype for the season starting. Like everybody's wanting to watch that first qualifying session, even though they know it's probably the most meaningless qualifying session of the season, being everybody outside of the top 2 doesn't get to keep their starting spots, and then basically run two heat races essentially in the duels where you have a big chance to tear up your race car, but not much to gain, where you could start dead last in the Daytona 500 and win or be in the lead in just a couple laps. So, I'll always love to see the season start at Daytona, and it's the biggest race of the year. So, love the duels, love the qualifying session, setting it all up, but knowing that it doesn't really matter too much, we weren't too worried about Larson and the speed of his car. But obviously, the weekend got washed with rain, the Xfinity and the Cup race, Saturday and Sunday getting both pushed to Monday. And the race on Monday was kind of weird, Dylan, to start it off. I mean, there was the massive wreck on like lap 5 where guys were racing super aggressive early on, and then after that it was like the biggest fuel save in Daytona 500 history. The guys were riding around half throttle, and AJ Allmendinger, who was unattached from the main pack, was running faster lap times than the big pack was. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was crazy, but ultimate success for Larson stage one. I mean, he was close to pulling out the win there in
Yep.
stage one. Good strategy helped him. He still got to pick up 9 stage points, so he was just there for that stage win. But stage two, it definitely took a turn. I mean, there was really nothing big that really happened in stage two. It was just typical super speedway racing. Really wasn't any big incident, and then stage three, that's kind of where we get to see everything. We had that big wreck there at the end with 8 to go. Larson kind of involved. He braked super hard, was able to avoid any crucial damage. He got a flat tire from that. And then I think that was about like a 20-minute red flag. It was a pretty big wreck, and he restarted like 15th, I believe. But really there at the end, there really wasn't too much of a chance unless there's kind of a little mini miracle for him to get up in the mix. But got up to P13 by race end, and then Chastain and Cindric, they kind of got tangled up in the whole controversial finish that we'll get into here. But ultimately, I view it as a success. I mean, he finished Daytona. It was his best finish at the 500 since 2021, where he got a 10th place finish. So, I mean, that's points. We're on the board. We finished the race. I think that's a successful day.
Yeah, I have to definitely agree with you there. I think that was my biggest takeaway from Daytona from a Kyle Larson standpoint was, okay, we finished the race. The car's in one piece. You can't really ask for much more than that. I mean, obviously you can ask for more than that, but with his luck on these super speedway or drafting style tracks, we're just happy to see him cross the finish line in one piece and not tear up the car too bad. I mean, like you said, with 8 to go, there was that incident where he got the flat tire and they came down pit road immediately after. I mean, huge heads up there by the team. Great job by spotter Tyler Mon and Kyle really navigating through that wreck, because I was watching the in-car camera and dude, it was just nothing but smoke in front of Kyle's car. I mean, he I don't think he could really see much of anything. So you know, big tip of the hat to the spotter for really coming in clutch there with navigating him through that. Kyle staying out of the trouble and then getting to pit road to change that tire immediately after, before the red flag came out. That was big because we know how these next gen cars are with the flat tires. You get that thing stopped. If you stop, it might not get going again. I mean, we saw that a lot last year, Dylan, where they got beached with the flat tire. So ultimately got the tire on, got the new, fresh set of tires, and came back out there and had to start at the tail end of the longest line under penalty for pitting when pit road was closed. But getting back up to 11th was big, and it's gonna hopefully be some halfway good momentums to start the season.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, especially going right into Atlanta. I mean, which is basically a super speedway.
Yeah,
We're
God,
getting blessed with a lot of super speedway racing, but
man.
hopefully they use that as fuel, get a good finish at Atlanta, stay out of trouble again, because I mean that's a big point. I mean, we had a lot of DNFs last year, and that comes back to bite you at the end of the year.
Yep.
When you're fighting for points. So it doesn't seem like much now. I know we kind of joke posting that playoff point thing. That you post early in the year. It's like the first race playoff standings,
Hey,
but
but it matters,
um,
right? I mean,
yeah, it matters. I mean, we're talking about playoffs, but it matters. It matters for sure. So, but I mean, I kind of want to get into the little bit of controversial finish. I mean,
yeah.
there was a lot about that with the way the race ended. I do think it kind of sucked. I mean, I would have. I usually hate the overtimes, but I feel like they should have done it there. I mean, I know they took the white flag, but I feel like we were just robbed of a good finish there. And then there was the whole dispute whether or not Bowman got the win, which you mentioned to me. I saw some people on Twitter talking about that. I did want to kind of touch on a little bit. I did watch a interesting segment that Steve Letarte did with NBC. They kind of broke it down a little bit. So it's just kind of going over the rule book. So I'll just kind of go in order here. So it says once race leader has received the white flag at the start finish line and the caution lights are displayed, all vehicles are frozen in their track position. So I mean, everyone thought, I mean, initially before NASCAR showed, they ultimately showed that aerial shot, which they touched on that was what finalized their decision. But I don't know. I mean, from initially, it definitely looked like Bowman was a little bit ahead, but
Yeah.
the aerial shot it proved it. I mean, Byron was like about a fender of ahead. So the next one is vehicles are not permitted to pass and must maintain position. That's kind of a given. That's why Chastain and Cindric they were tallied down at the end of the field. If you're not maintaining your speed with the pack, you're out of there.
Right.
Vehicles involved in wreck will be repositioned as follows: your track position at the time of vehicles returned from accident, and vehicles that do not complete the lap. And then, the last one, just kind of what I just said. NASCAR, they use any data resources to determine track position at the time of the caution. That begins on the white flag lap. So they use that aerial shot. That was a determining factor. A lot of people were, confused. I was a little bit confused myself because, I mean, in the past, it's about the scoring loop. It's about the where you are at the start finish line. It's about when the caution comes out immediately. That is the
Yeah.
case. Byron was ahead, so it is kind of confusing at first. I'm glad I ended up watching that video. I kind of better understood it myself. So anyone that didn't, was a little confused about that. Hopefully, what I just said, kind of helped clear it out for you. But yeah, Byron did, he did win the race. He was deserving, and it's really big for Hendrick too. I mean, that was the 40-year anniversary from the first race of Hendrick. So really big for us to pick up the win there, and glad Hendrick was able to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to see Hendrick Carr in victory lane. And like you said, that aerial shot that was posted after the race definitely kind of made it official in my eyes. You can clearly see the caution light on, and that's the view that they said that they used to determine the winner. So I love to see that. A couple of things I want to touch on with that finish. My biggest problem with the finish is the coverage on TV, because we know how many cameras they have out there at the racetrack, and they refuse to show any angles to confirm or deny NASCAR's ruling of the race. I'm not one to be like, oh, NASCAR rigged it and Bowman won the race. But we as race fans, if we have an inkling, if I was an Alex Bowman fan, I know damn sure I would want to see the replay and see to verify that Byron actually won the race, which he did. But they have to show that on TV, Dylan, because I mean, everybody was already mad about the finish because they felt like they were robbed of the last 2.5 miles, with it being a caution right at the white flag. But you have to show that replay to clear the air just a little bit. And then secondary to that, the NASCAR Cup Series rulebook. If you go online to try and search up the NASCAR Cup Series rulebook, you can't access it as a fan. It has a username and password login that you have to have NASCAR credentials to log in and access the rulebook. And I understand that there is proprietary information in the rulebook that not all fans and the general public, can't have access to, but there at least needs to be some sort of simplified version of the rule book for fans to look at basic things like this, like the procedures for a finish under the white flag or under the last two laps. Where is that information for fans to just go and see at their own will? It's not there. And when something like this happens, NASCAR feels the heat because they've done it to themselves. They haven't made resources available for fans to know what actually happened.
I think I did see something that NASCAR said when they were finalizing it and showing the aerial shot and everything, that if Chastain and Cindric didn't re-enter the track, that they were gonna finish the last lap. I don't really
Yeah.
know. Yeah, so
Yeah. Well, they
um,
said that I think people, one of the biggest criticisms I saw on social media was that NASCAR didn't throw the caution flag soon enough. Because if they had thrown it before it got to the white flag, before they crossed the start finish line, then it would have been a restart, a NASCAR overtime, two to go, green, white checker, whatever you want to call it. But because they waited, then the race was official once they crossed the finish line. But the thing about that is they said that if the two cars that wrecked stayed on the apron and down in the infield, they were going to try and keep it green. So that's why they waited to throw the caution. But then once the one car started to come back up the track, they had no choice but to throw the caution. And I kind of understand that point and that thought process. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think most people want to see that race finish under green, and there's a lot of controversy about that. I kind of see both sides of it with like last year's Indianapolis 500. That's immediately what I thought of at the end, where it's like, some races are just not meant to end under green. Some are going to end under caution, and it sucks for race fans, obviously, but it makes the ones that finish under green and that are breathtaking finishes a lot better. So, I don't know. That's all I have to say on Daytona.
I mean, it sucks. You want to see a good finish. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the biggest race of the year. Everyone was waiting. I mean, we had a terrible rain weekend. First time. I mean, the races were not raced on the weekend, so it was definitely, you know everyone was anxious, kind of seeing the race, and
Yeah.
then waiting all the time, finally getting the end. We were gonna get a good finish, and we were kind of robbed. But um, who knows? I mean, maybe if finished, Hendrick wouldn't have got the win. I mean,
Right.
if Larson's not in contention for the win, you obviously want a Hendrick driver to succeed, and we saw Byron pick up the win, and it's a big win for him, and big win for the team. First time since 2014 when Dale Jr. won it for Hendrick. So just happy a Hendrick guy got it, and I don't know, maybe we'll see in the future. I mean, we complained about it a lot last year. I mean, inconsistent officiating. I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. We'll see as the season progresses, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much it on Daytona. Just glad we finished the race. Really not looking too forward to Atlanta because it's another super speedway, but I do think it was a little bit better this year. I mean, I was actually found myself watching it more. There was a little bit more aggression, a little more battles throughout the field than I feel like I usually see. So there's that. But looking forward to Golden Isles, and then we have Atlanta.
Yeah, and the only good thing I could think of about Atlanta being next week is the fact that we get two drafting tracks out of the way early in the season. I know we're going to go to Atlanta again, and we're going to go to Daytona again, and then Talladega twice, but at least this puts Atlanta to the beginning, and Kyle can kind of start to build up some momentum after that. For him to have a good race at Atlanta would be huge, and carrying some good momentum through two tracks that he probably didn't expect to do that great at, or not, kind of out of his control in some ways. But I think that it's good to get Atlanta done this week, and then we can get into the real racing on the schedule, in my opinion. So,
And then
like
we
you,
can then we can get more super speedway racing in playoffs. That can be
yeah,
really
that
exciting
sucks
streak.
too, right? Don't remind me. But um, this week's going to be a busy week for Kyle Larson on dirt and at Atlanta with the NASCAR Cup Series. Golden Isle Speedway, Deuces Wild, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. The High Limit Sprint Car Series and the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. High Limit on Thursday, Lucas Oil on Friday, and then both series together on Saturday. Going to be a heck of a show, Dylan. We're going to both be there on Saturday night. I'll be there on Friday as well. Hoping the weather holds out. It shows a little bit of rain, the R word, on Friday during the morning, but should be out of the way for racing. Kyle's going to be there all 3 nights and going back and forth between Atlanta on Saturday and Sunday. Super stoked for this event. We've been talking about it for a while. Sprint cars at Golden Isle is going to be absolutely insane. I think it's the first time 410s have ever been to the Golden Isle Speedway, and some super big star power there with High Limit and Lucas Oil. Can't wait for this weekend, and can't wait to get down there. And we haven't seen each other in a while, so it'd be good to link up and see you in person.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like I said in the beginning, haven't been to a high limit race yet. Haven't been to a dirt race since I think January of last year at Bubba when Larson was out on the opening lap, might I add. So hopefully we get some better luck here on Saturday. Really excited to see all that play out, all the superstars between sprint car, late model. So um, been a while since we saw Larson in late model. I mean, we did see him at Vado, but we really don't get to see him too much in late model. So to have him see him in a sprint car and late model at the same night, it's going to be a treat, and really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Like we talked about earlier on the high limit side, Corey Day and Brad Sweet tied atop the standings there. Ricky Thornton Jr. leads the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series standings over 5 points by Hudson O'Neal going into this race. They're, of course, just coming out of speed weeks at East Bay and the whole Florida Georgia run. This is kind of the last two races in speed weeks, Gold Mile 2.0 to cap off speed weeks, I guess, and really get an official start to the 2024 season. I'm excited, man. I mean, this is gonna be awesome. If anybody is close to the area, I mean, shoot, I say if you're within a 3 hour radius, you need to get to Golden Mile Speedway for at least one of the nights. And I want to see those stands packed. They have an awesome facility at Golden Mile. If you've gone to dirt races in the past, the grandstands are awesome for viewing experience. Super tall. You sit up, you kind of feel like you're at like a NASCAR race or something almost. You're sitting up so high. You got a bird's eye view of the track. Doesn't get much better than that. So hope to see some of you guys out there at the track. And if you see us, we'll probably be wearing some Larsonland stuff. So don't be afraid to say hi as usual.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know how the weather's. It's looking like it's what, mid to high 60s. I wish it was a little bit warmer. I wish it was a little bit of shorts and t-shirt weather, but we'll see. Hopefully Friday doesn't rain out for you. I know you just said that.
Yeah.
Friday's looking like a little bit of rain, but hopefully that's clear for the late model side of things, and looking clear for Saturday, so that's good. The main event. So yeah, appreciate all the support as always. Everyone listening to the podcast, be sure to subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment, anything you might want to add, involving the finish Daytona, or anything in any of the dirt races, be sure to comment. Anyone listening on Apple Music, we appreciate you guys as well. And yeah, thanks for all the support.
Absolutely. One last order of business, Dylan. The random Kyle Larson race of the week. This week's race is from June 6th, 2013 at Jacksonville Speedway in Illinois with the Power Eye Midget Series. Starting from the outside of the front row in Keith Kunz Motorsports number 71 K car, Kyle Larson got out to the lead early, running away with the race with 15 laps to go. A lap car spun directly in front of Larson's 71K machine, where the two made contact right out of turn number 4. Larson kept on going, kept his foot in it, despite the damage to his car, didn't stop, kept his spot. He would control the lead on the following restart and pick up the win over Darren Hagan, Brad Kuhn, Christopher Bell, and Austin Brown. Dylan, that was a fun race to watch. I'll leave the link in the description to the video of it on if you're watching this on YouTube. But Dylan, unless you had anything else, I think that should pretty much wrap it up for today's show.
Yeah, that should pretty much be it. I mean, like Sawyer just said, we'll be in goal now, so be sure to stop by, say hi if you're there, and if not, we'll be dropping an on location video for anyone that's not able to attend. Everyone can kind of see the behind the scenes of everything, and we'll be posting pictures on Instagram, Twitter, the whole 9 yards. So with that being said, thanks once again for all the support, and we'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely. If you're watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please follow our podcast so you don't miss a thing. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and we will see you in the next episode.